After my shower, I decided it was time to please my subscribers a little and gout in my blog. In my main outfit, I chose a red type dress that perfectly emphasized my figure. It always gave me confidence, but this time there was something special. I looked in the mirror and saw the dress hugging me as if to remind me that I could be attractive boutos if out of spite. When I tried to zipper up the back, it got stuck. I pulled it up, but it wouldn't budge. Utterly confused, I turned around looking for something or someone to help, wondering if I should go downstairs and call my husband for help. I paused for a moment but decided not to risk it yet. Suddenly I heard footsteps. It was my father-in-law, Mr. Eric. He was walking past my door, and I couldn't help notice the way he automatically looked up when I was in front of him. His eyes stopped in me, full of interest and unexpected admiration. I felt warmth flood my cheeks, and suddenly the whole world around me seemed to freeze. "Emmy," he said with a slight surprise in his voice. In that moment, I felt vulnerable, as if this awkward situation was spilling out, exposing my weakness. I could have said it was okay, but instead I just smiled and asked, "Eric, I need a little help. The zipper is stuck." He stopped, frozen in place for a moment. I knew it might be a strange request, but there was no other option. He stepped into the room, skirting the semi-dark corners, and stood beside me, immediately feeling the warm warmth emanating from me. "Where exactly are you stuck?" he asked, leaning over to look at me. Image in the stuck zipper. His breath touched my skin, and I felt a gentle chill run through my body, making my heart beat faster. I suddenly had the thought that this wasn't just my father-in-law, this was someone who had known me for a long time, and now I felt his closeness in a different way. "I'm not sure, just untie it please," I said, trying to keep my expression calm. Eric gently took the zipper. His hands were sure and gentle, and I felt a slight tension fill the space between us. He pulled upward, and the moment I felt the lock release, the dress slid down and I felt redness flood my cheeks. In that instant I felt an absolutely extraordinary mixture of shame and excitement, hovering on the line between safety and something new. My mind seemed to stop, and in the silence of the room only the sounds of Eric's light breathing echoed around me. I froze in place, not knowing how to react. When I looked up, I met his deep, penetrating gaze, with sparks of understanding and tenderness. The air grew dense, and as I stared into his eyes, I felt an anxious stirring inside that couldn't be contained. As my shoulders relaxed, he seemed to notice my tension, and peering into my soul, moved closer. I felt his presence envelope me like a warm wave. Thoughts of right and wrong vanished, leaving only the here and now, the moment off. The obvious spark that was already awakening inside, I couldn't explain it, but the desire that was growing between us made my heart beat faster, and for a moment I was ready to give myself over to this new reality outside of our normal roles. We were lost in our feelings, unsure of how to proceed. His hands slid along my dress once more. It was unexpected, but also beautiful. Thoughts arose in my mind that is held, but my emotions left me no choice. I pulled away to give him no chance to leave, but instead our interaction only became more intimate, drawn closer together. "My name is Emmy. I am 28 years old, and my life seems to be perfect. I have been married to Stitch for 2 years. We have a cozy home and our plans for the future. Stitch is a good man, caring and loyal, but sometimes I feel like he doesn't understand me. My passion for fashion and blogging makes me more independent, and that puts us at a bit of a disadvantage. As a blogger, I shared my successes by creating images and inspiring others. Every morning I would rise with the thought of how interesting it would be to present a new outfit, how to demonstrate that I was not only a wife, but a successful woman. It became a kind of refuge from the ordinary. I chose short dresses and tight skirts that emphasized my figure, making me feel beautiful and desirable. My father-in-law, Mr. Eric, with whom we live, has always been a pillar of support for me. His wisdom and life experience helped when Stitch and I argued about children in the future. Eric dreamed of children's laughter in our home and a large family, but I wasn't ready for that. I wanted to focus on my career, and this led to constant disagreements. Even though Stitch was very patient in convincing me, despite all of this, I noticed lately that an involuntary relationship had developed between me and Eric. He always supported me in my endeavors and was there for me when things didn't work out. I remained enamored with him. His kindness and responsiveness made me feel important, but unfortunately, it was this warm experience that was pushing me to an awkward state. One day, when I forgot to button my dress, our gazes met, and I felt a fire inside me that I couldn't ignore. It was becoming more and more prominent, and I didn't know how to deal with it. As he closed the door, and I was left alone with my thoughts, the feeling of that awkward moment reappeared. Questions about whether it could have become something more troubled me. Why did I let this happen? I was married to Stitch, and Eric was a part of my life. How could I lose control of my desires in his presence? With every moment we spent together, I realized there was a connection between us. It filled the voids that came when I tried to let go of my responsibilities, and this longing became a practical necessity, a wonderful source of tenderness that I had been seeking for so long. In general, I tried to keep my life in a routine, paying attention to all the Details: cooking, taking care of the house, working on my blog, but deep down I knew that this connection between Eric and me could not go unnoticed. Every moment with him, every glance from him left an unbearable desire in my heart, wanting his signs of attention and care. And in this awkward time, something more than mere mutual understanding between Eric and me emerges. With that thought, I became unbearable. I knew we were about to take a step into the unknown, but at the same time there was hope inside me that everything that was happening could be just the beginning of something new, filled with passion and deep feelings I never thought I could experience in the conflicted world of family bonds. The day came when everything changed. The morning started as usual, but I was anxious inside. I got up earlier than everyone else so that I could make breakfast. The house was quiet, and the cozy smell of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the aroma of toasted toaster, filling the atmosphere with tranquility. My father-in-law, Mr. Eric, sat at the table, immersed in reading the newspaper, his routine habits as familiar to me as breathing. We spent breakfast together, discussing innocuous news, as if we didn't have any difficult moments under our belt. I tried not to think about the fact that neither Stitch nor Eric shared my career aspirations, but each convinced me that I should be a good wife and fulfill my domestic duties. After breakfast, I hurried to my room to get ready to shoot for the blog. I went through my outfits each time, creating a new look, trying to emphasize my figure. With each outfit change, I could feel my nerves heating up. I always wanted to look flawless. After all, there were a lot of people watching in me, and it was pressurizing. But in the last few days, I've been more and more distracted by a strange state of mind. I'd noticed Eric walking past my room more often, as if you were looking for a moment to catch my eye. As the sun began to set and the evening waned, I finally prepared the table with the most exquisite dishes for dinner. I prepared pasta with bacon and a delicate sauce, grilled fish and flavorful vegetables, anything that would please the family. But despite family meals, which I've always found to be the most comforting, I felt a slight uneasiness that night. After the cheerful conversations on the table, I felt the air become stuffy, clutching my lungs. I went up to the bathroom, where the ice-cold water running over my skin helped me relax a little. Immersing myself, I soaked up every drop, forgetting about my upcoming responsibilities. After my shower, I put on my favorite red silk dress. It reflected the light wrapping around my body, and every movement of it was a dance. The moment the zipper on the dress accidentally stuck, I felt a wave of anxiety, as if it meant more than just a small mishap. As I tugged on the zipper, I noticed that the back of my sneaker remained unbuttoned, at which point I had to resolutely seek help. I headed into the room, and as soon as I ended the zipper, the dress slid down, revealing an unexpected sensation to me. It was at that exact moment that Eric's voice sounded behind me. He stepped into the room, and his confused gaze met mine. Second seemed like an eternity as he stood there, aware of me. Sitting in that uncertain moment, his eyes full of warmth and concern searched for signs of what I was feeling. I froze, not knowing how to react. I felt the temperature in the room rise. Everything around me became quiet, and my breathing became ragged. Eric's hands gently touched my shoulder, and the touch made me feel the tension that had lodged somewhere deep inside. The sudden closeness reawakened the forbidden thoughts and feelings I'd been trying to suppress. "Emmy, is everything okay?" His voice was soft, but there was something in it that made me wonder what had happened. I knew it was wrong, but the closer he got, the more the urge came over me. It was so self-destructive and yet tantalizing. I looked into his eyes, and suddenly I realized there were no boundaries here anymore. My father-in-law squeezed my shoulders, and that touch took things to another level. I felt his breath slide across my face, and in that moment everything around me became unimportant. I knew the airspace between us was filled with something more than just a moment of innocent intimacy. It was a desire capable of destroying everything around me. With every second I spent next to him, rubbing my sleeves together, I realized it wasn't just excitement, it was something that had always been there but suppressed by social norms. My hand reached for his on its own, and when our fingers met, the world outside disappeared. In that moment, all that seemed to remain was the tenderness that could lead us both to what we were so close to. I had no choice but to just close my eyes and let that wave take over me. My gaze flitted between rapture and fear, as if my heart was whispering that this moment was to be embraced, not rejected. We stood on the edge, and with every touch I realized one thing: I was ready to let this storm of passion into me life, even though I knew it could change us forever. When I looked at Eris, it was as if time stood still. We were standing in a room filled with tension and air of the unknown between us. I could feel my heart pounding with every second as he finally came to a realization and slowly picked up the dress from the floor. It all seemed too serious, and I couldn't take my eyes off him. His fingers touched the fabric, and I froze, not knowing what to do next. These moments stretched to infinity. I was just trying to figure out how we'd gotten into this situation, but every gesture and touch he made only emphasized the fragility of the moment. When he lifted his dress, as if immersing himself in our silent connection, I felt my heart pounding harder than ever. Suddenly he looked at me with such determination that I couldn't help but return the favor. A spark Slipped into Eric's eyes. Emmy, you're amazing, he whispered, and in that moment the whole room became a warm shelter for our feelings. Everything about this moment evoked strong emotions, dark and light. At the same time I took a step, and our bodies were so close that I could hear his quiet breath softly touching my face. His hand slid gently through my hair again, brushing a strand away from my forehead, and in that simple gesture was a strength that coursed through me. I knew this moment could change everything. My mind was spinning with thoughts of probation, something Weboth realized. I was embarrassed by the realization, but the urge to feel his touch was tearing outward like nature, causing a raging desire unable to handle it. I stepped closer to him. Eric raped my hands in his, and that touch proved to be an explosion of emotion that instantly overwhelmed me. I felt the excitement overwhelming everything else. Yes, if we were both in the same main character together in this moment where everything became possible, but all notions of right and wrong suddenly came together in a colorful palette, leaving a stillness in my heart. I took a deep breath, as if trying to quiet the inner contradictions that suddenly seemed unbearable. Suddenly, I realized that this wasn't just an innocent moment. Fear and excitement were woven into one. It was gone, trying to find a way out. I sat in my room for about 20 minutes, but still I came back to reality, heading for the living room. The legs of my thoughts were light and unsure. I didn't know what was going on, how this could have all turned into something more so quickly, but when I entered the room the sight that opened in front of me simply shocked me. Eric was lying on the couch, comfortably covered with a blanket, his phone in his hands, watching my videos and making strange noises. I froze in place, staring as his face lit up with a bluish glow, and at times he made strange noises as he marveled at my images. All the feelings I had been trying to suppress suddenly exploded with incredible force, like fireworks that didn't want to die down. How could I accept it? I was confused, not knowing what to say. All I did was turn around and run back to my room. My insides were boiling, as if the world was falling apart. I felt my heart pounding with fear that Eric could see these feelings but didn't dare to express them. I realized that our relationship had changed. There was an invisible connection between us that couldn't be explained in words. It wasn't just family, but something deeper that was growing amidst the reticence. The feelings that arose between us felt as if they were consuming all the inner space. I lay on the bed, unable to calm down. It was not for nothing that every moment with him left a trace in my soul. I thought about the fact that it was no longer just a family affection between us. These inner feelings became a real problem that I needed to face. I felt an invisible force pressing down on us, and in that moment of contradiction between what was right and what I wanted, there was no choice left. Everything had changed. I didn't know how to get out of this situation, and the question couldn't leave me alone. Did Eric really feel the same way, and how to accept what was possible between us even if it was forbidden? The fresh sweet sensation tugged at my soul again and again, and I realized this lump of emotions, contradictory and complaint FX, would now be a part of me, and I couldn't escape it.